Can I please get everyone in the audience to close their eyes? Now imagine being told by your parents, your partner, your loved ones, that you're going to immigrate to a different country. Imagine being told that you have to leave the one place you call home. That you have to leave your cousins, your friends, your grandmothers and grandfathers, and in some cases, maybe even your parents, brothers, and sisters. You're being told that you have to leave your familiar land behind. That now every day, you have to wake up to a different setting, weather, environment. You have to learn a new language, dance to a different tune, and ultimately live and learn a different culture. All of this in the hope of a better life, to seek safety and security, and to pursue a better future and education for generations to come. But you are the one taking the initial step, the leap of faith. Now you may open your eyes. As cliche as it sounds, this is not a far stretch from what immigrants and refugees have to face every day all around the world. We see stories of immigrants being forced to cross large bodies of land or water, escape war zones, and overcome extreme conditions just to have a shot at making it to a place of safety and comfort. The mass migration of refugees from the Middle East to Europe on boats, as shown here, has given us insight into the hardships that every immigrant faces while they're attempting to seek survival. Furthermore, we are yet to even mention the struggle of those living in Myanmar and Somalia that has resulted in millions of deaths due to racial intolerance. The list of heartbreaking events goes on and on. In fact, more than 1/3 of the world's displaced population, some 25.4 million people, have been forced out of their countries. But behind all these statistics are human beings, people with life experiences and dreams. As someone who has been born and raised in Vancouver, it is hard for me to relate to the hardships that so many around the world face through immigrating to different countries. My life has been one without any personal struggle, and I have been truly blessed. However, if it had not been for my parents and grandparents who initially decided upon moving from a divided and conflicted Iran to Vancouver, my hardship-deprived life may have not come to be. As a first-generation immigrant, my father is a prime example of the many Iranian immigrants who came to Vancouver seeking refuge. As an immigrant, my dad experienced the same fate as millions of immigrants worldwide. My dad was born in the capital of Iran at a time where it looked like this, and was ruled by a king who favored Western culture. His early life had been one with little struggle and sacrifice. However, this was all about to change. After the Islamic Revolution and the ousting of the Shah, his father, a personal photographer for the former king of Iran, realized that it was time for him and his family to leave the country. My dad was now tasked with a choice: escape Iran with the possibility of no return, or commit to military service in an intense war with neighbors Iraq, which would allow him to comfortably leave the country when his service ended. He ultimately chose the latter, a decision that would take him to the front lines of war for 2 years in the prime of his life, a mere 19 years of age. Although my dad still wanted to stay in Iran after his service ended, his decision had already been made up for him by his father, and he had to leave the country. Immigration can be defined as the international movement of people into a destination country of which they are not natives, or where they do not possess citizenship in order to settle or reside there. The number of international migrants has reached millions worldwide. Yet, even after moving into their desired country, there are still many remaining problems that immigrants need to face. As an immigrant, how do you adapt to your new culture and environment? How do you overcome the culture shock? How do you adapt to your new situations, new surroundings, and new identities? If you've ever traveled, it's easy to notice that the culture of every country is different. And so, for immigrants who've been used to being a part of a specific culture their entire lives, the transition from one country to the next can be quite the challenge. This is known as culture shock and can be defined as a sense of confusion, sometimes with feelings of anxiety that may affect people exposed to an alien culture. It is difficult for immigrants to overcome this culture shock. However, there are coping methods, and we as a community must be better able in providing more help to those who are not used to living in places such as Vancouver. Coping methods can range from an immigrant doing something that reminds them of home to getting further involved into some aspects of an immigrant's new culture. My dad was lucky enough to be a part of a warm, welcoming community, and he made strong friendships through this experience while maintaining his culture and background. Vancouver, like the rest of Canada, prides itself on being a multicultural place. However, we are starting to see that our beloved town, as well as the rest of BC, is becoming less and less of a welcoming place for immigrants. According to the Globe and Mail, in 2001, BC had a recently settled immigrant share of 20.5%, which only trailed Ontario as the province with the most amount of immigrant shares. Jump to 2016, and BC's immigrant shares have dropped to a merely 14.8%, and now trail Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta. The reason behind this is that it has become way too expensive for immigrants to afford living in the area. Statistics Canada stated that the economic conditions in the various receiving regions undoubtedly played a major role in the geographic distribution of immigrants. The fact of the matter is that the lack of affordable housing, as well as the expensive economic conditions within Vancouver and the rest of British Columbia, has made it difficult for immigrants to afford living here. And unless these issues are resolved, we should only expect less and less immigrants coming to the area. This is undoubtedly a major problem, and it is up to us as a community to strive together in finding a resolution. It is up to us as a community to further incorporate and integrate immigrants into our society. However, many are tasked with a simple question. Is it the responsibility of immigrants to incorporate themselves into Canadian society? Or is it the responsibility of Canadian society to create a welcoming atmosphere? While this may seem like a one or the other statement, the true answer is in fact somewhere in the middle. While ultimately, it will be the immigrants who will have to find an area to live in as well as work, on top of further incorporating themselves into the community. It is up to us as Canadians to create a warm environment in which immigrants feel welcome and where their strengths and contributions to society can be noticed. I'd like to finish off by bringing up another short story of my father's. As my dad was trying to immigrate out of Iran, he went to the US Embassy in the hope of leaving the country. Ultimately, however, he was turned down after being told by a border officer that the amount of your people I have let into my country does not exceed the number of fingers I have on my right hand. In telling this story, I'm saying that if it had not been for that man, as cruel as he had been to my father at age 24, he, as well as the rest of his future family, including myself, would have never been able to witness the beauty and privilege of living in Canada. If I am lucky enough to live in such a beautiful, peaceful, and stable country, why shouldn't anyone else? Thank you.